This is Missy Bordius. Join me as I share my womanly bits on the Conservative Feminist Show, 11 p.m. on Fridays, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
This is Chuck Dixon, the co-creator of Bane, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, this is Donnie Cates, author of Buzzkill, and you are tuned in to Vigilant Liberty Radio. Get it on.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Welcome back to The Right Mics, with both mics, Mike and Michael. 412-567-6879 if you wish to opine, weigh in. Okay, so last segment we were talking about e-cigarettes in Nanny State and California. So we can link all three of those things, well, not e-cigarettes, but two of those to a topic we talked about yesterday, which was some of the crazy recycling stuff. In fact, we had fun talking about recycling, didn't we, Housen?
We did.
And we do still have, at our next board meeting, we're going to discuss yet another venture, which would be the specific recycling that you and I would do just on the K-Cups for Keurigs. But so, all right, so now, do you see this story? I think I sent this to you. Seattle, sister city, should be, of San Francisco, to fine residents for throwing food in the garbage.
Imagine that job.
Yeah. So again, you know, your excuse me, suggestion the other day, is this not truth or fiction, but is this reality or The Onion? I mean, this again could be either from The Onion or Saturday Night Live, but yes, Seattle. And eventually they're going to get the fines. What they're going to start out doing, this is for throwing food. This is not for throwing recyclable stuff where the food leftovers go. This is for actually throwing food in the garbage. Which, by the way, brings me to the question, before this is over with, that there won't be anything left to throw in the garbage. But that's a discussion for another time.
Ideally, no.
Well, yeah, because everything will be recycled, turned in, everything will either be recycled or turned into compost, which is what they're suggesting here. So the first thing they're going to do, they've got these red citation tags that if when the garbage police come out, hopefully do not get in the way of the recycling police. They will, if they find garbage in your garbage can, and that would be food off your plates, regular food and so forth, they're going to start out with these red citation tags in an effort to shame people, these scarlet letter tags, to shame people, Michael, into, in front of their neighbors, into stop violating throwing garbage in the garbage.
It's incredible. I mean, to go, public shaming for disposing too much stuff and an insufficient quantity of composting. I mean, I can totally see it, man. That all of a sudden you're having to, go around and, I am a chief compost recycling compliance evaluator is my job title.
Mm-hmm. Well,
unionized, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And this is called, listen to the name of this company, by the way, so we talk about recycling, right? This is Recology Cleanscapes. And here's Rodney from Recology. I'm sure neighbors are going to see these on their neighbors' cans, and they're going to be shamed, right? So your neighbor across the street is going to see this scarlet letter, in effect, a red tag on your garbage can, and you're going to be shamed. So I was thinking, all right, so you get up early in the morning, you upstairs window, have a look out, and you see the Recology, the garbage police, as it were, coming down the street checking in cans. And, your wife, girlfriend, whoever says, honey, I just remembered I threw that leftover head of lettuce in the garbage last night. You got to go down and get it out. This is just insane.
Did you ever see, it just makes me think of that Portlandia episode where the couple they spend their time going around all the different they go through both commercial and private garbage cans, and then they pull out food that's been thrown out, and then they make stew and dinners out of it.
No.
Yeah, so they find rotted cabbage and nasty bones and all this stuff, and then they come home and they're so excited because they're taking discarded foodstuffs and they're sensibly reusing them, and they're using that for their meal. And it's just, it's just absolutely disgusting.
It has
Yet
to be.
They are just so self-congratulatory for eliminating waste.
So Rodney hooks up with NPR. Is that a marriage made in heaven as it relates to this kind of stuff or not? And he says, you can see all the oranges and coffee grounds just raising one lid. All that makes great compost. You could put that in your compost bin and buy it back next year. So you buy your own garbage back in a bag and put it in your garden. So, and then of course, this gets to the ultimate goal, he says, is to boost composting while, Michael, drum roll, reducing greenhouse gases and methane gases, because rotting food contributes to both methane. They're the equivalent of cow farts, as we talked last week.
Right. Well, it's funny is Dan just responded to this, and he said the exact correct thing is that it's eco-fascism.
Well, Fitzgerald, it's not only that. I think it's even worse, because obviously these people don't care about the homeless. Because this would there would be no more dumpster diving for food, because there would be no food in dumpsters. So these cold-hearted bastards are going to deny meals in the future to the homeless just because of pretend global warming. I mean, I think this is just about as inhumane as you can become.
Well, ideally, wouldn't there be a requirement for every citizen to have their own composting piles? And there should be somebody investigating whether the composting is being treated correctly, and the soil that the hyperfertile soil that results from composting, if that's being used and distributed correctly. I mean, there's an entire industry of support for not only recycling but composting, and then compliance officers and random checking. I mean, I could foresee a day. Well, I can hopefully foresee a day where you might get an unannounced knock on the door for the compost compliance officer to evaluate your compost pile.
We were here a month ago, Mr. Housen, and we noticed that you apparently are not on a hunger strike, and B, your compost bin is exactly the size that it was a month ago. So fess up, dude.
Yeah, so you are. We've obviously been checking your trash can, weekly, and you are, disposing of the correct amount of goods. We are unable to determine whether or not you have been discarding items that should be composted. But when we compare that to your compost pile itself, our conclusion is that you're doing something else with these compostable items, and therefore we need to fine you.
Exactly.
And we need to shame you. You know what? It's funny that the left hates any idea of judgment or public shaming or disapproval of any particular activities, except for if you're discarding the incorrect things. In that case, they're completely on board with shaming and judging.
Well, they want to shame anything that they don't believe in. The conservatives do. But, geez, okay, the recycling police, we already have those. Okay, now we already, apparently, in Seattle at least, we have I love this word recology. That's just hilarious. But so we have the garbage police, the food garbage police, recology police, and to your point, it won't be long before we have compost police. So, and again, maybe they're just also thinking about job creation. So they could be smarter than we think.
Now this is not joking around. Dan points this out. Garbage dumps used to burn off methane produced from rotting material. Now they collect that methane for fuel, but if you're composting, you can't do that.
Well, see, there you go, because those landfills, my wife years ago went on a field trip with my daughter. I don't think she ever did stop every once in a while talking about how amazing the stuff that she learned, to Dan's point. So, right. Yeah, there you go. They're going to, again, unintended consequences by liberals.
Yeah, and notice here, now this is the part that's actually scary. It's funny. A conservative buddy of mine is totally on board with the idea of conservative, right-wing, national, and even statewide policies, but in terms of local and city government, experimenting around with this kind of thing. I mean, if you live in the city of Santa Cruz and you want to vote for collectivization and composting and all of this kind of thing on a local basis, you can move a couple hundred yards down the road and go into a neighboring city or get outside the borders. So he makes an interesting point about that. But notice here that the EPA has already begun a campaign to achieve laws similar to Seattle's. So, and the EPA being a national government, a federal program.
Right.
So, it's one thing for the people of Seattle to vote themselves this kind of thing. It's another thing for the country as a whole to have it imposed upon them by unelected bureaucracy. That to me is a very different threat.
And it is as well as I do, as well as any conservative does, that if the left, the progressives, could get away with that on a federal level through the EPA or whatever, they do it in a heartbeat.
An absolute heartbeat. I mean, the folks that are behind this thing, and who did they say who did it? I'm sure it's probably city council. But I mean, agenda item 2 on their discussion, number 1 was obviously impose it upon Seattle residents. Number 2 is how to influence the EPA to impose it upon all residents. I mean, that's step 2 of that same exact meeting where this was first proposed, don't you think?
Oh, surely. And, as we said, I mean, initially it's a scarlet letter, if you will, red tags on your garbage can. Then it's fines.